Hey everyone, so today I'm going to go over the steps to building out a track in Dirt Free Play. So first things first, out the gate, we need to talk about what you're going to need. So for this tutorial, I'm going to go over a few things here. Um, and first thing right away is that you need Building Tools by F3X, the plugin. This is going to be very useful across the board of building things out. To get that, you want to come to the toolbox. If you don't have the toolbox available to you, go to the View tab and press on Toolbox, and it will appear. Going to go to the toolbox and turn on Plugins, and then we're going to type in F3X. And the F3X we want is this one here, Building Tools by F3X, and it's made by Gigs D4X. He is the owner of F3X. So that's the one you want. That is the correct one. This is not the one you want. This is somebody else dumping it in. So you want the original. Once you do that, we're going to bust out our circle. I will have these circles available in the description, but I'm going to use circle 2.5. So what circle 2.5 is that it's each segment is 2.5 degrees of rotation from the next. So we can see here this orientation is 0, 0, 0, and this one here is 0, 2.5, 0. And so each time these will go 2.5. That gives us a pretty good rotation around the corner in a pretty smooth format. So now that we have our circle in, we need to figure out what our corners are going to look like. So in this case, I'm going to look at Fulton Speedway here. Has a arc length around here using Google Earth. I found this to be 601 feet. So what we want to do is put this on our scale, which is 10 divided by 7. So we can do 10 divided by 7, and that's going to get us 1.4285. A bunch more numbers after that. And then we're going to multiply this by 601. And that is going to get us an arc length in Roblox of 858.5 studs. So now, when we head back, what we want to do is select, so I'm holding down Alt to select inside the model, and then I'm dragging to select all this. And a big part of that is I didn't select the red piece, but I did select the green piece. And that is notable for a reason in a moment. But we'll get to that later. But you want to do that to get basically half, right? So this is like one corner, this is the other corner. And so we see that that's 72 parts. So now we come back to our calculator, the 858, we divide that by 72, and that will get us 11.9. So we're just going to round that up, and we're going to say 12. So now the width of each of these need to be 12. So the current width is 9.5. Make the current width now 12. And actually we want to do this to the everything. So once again, we can hold down Alt, and we can make these all 12. And after doing that, we also want to go back and look at, we want the track to be 70 feet wide. So once again, we're going to do 70 times 10 divided by 7 gets us 100. So 70 is going to end up giving us 100 feet of width for track. So the width is currently 59. Going to make it 100. Now, we're going to, with all these parts selected, open up F3X. We're going to go to local movement. And now we can size this outward until we see it start to separate like that. And with it separating like that, we'll bring it back in until it touches like that. And if you want to be like super precise about it, we can push it in maybe just a little bit further. Or pull it out, I suppose. But the idea is to try to get it pretty close to solid there. Now, at this point, you could do a bunch of stuff with changing the degrees of banking and whatnot. The best way to do that is to go into rotate, do local, and then you can also do that. So it looks like it's the red axis. Gets us some banking going. I'm just going to keep this track flat to keep it simple. but that's how you would end up doing stuff like that. Now we want to select only half the track because we're going to build out our straightaways. And so our straightaway is 531 feet. Once again, we're going to toss that into our scale. And that gets us 758. If you remember already, this is already 12. So we need to do 746. So we're going to put 746 in here. Once again, we're going to select everything to the right of the red, and we're also going to select the green. And with this being 746, if we move this, it's going to move it out to 746 away. And then now we can take our red, go like that, take our green, go like that, and now we have the base shape of the racetrack. Next thing that we want to do, so this is our surface. Next thing we want to do is build out our walls. So we duplicate, that's Control D while selecting over the surface. And this one will be our walls. And select the children. So that's right click, select children. I also have it set up as Control Q, but I believe that's not a preset hotkey. Could be wrong, but you should just check by doing the right click. Now we're going to build out our walls, so we're going to reopen F3X with everything selected, and we're going to resize this down. And I like to make walls be 1 stud thick concrete walls, and I like to make them 5 studs tall. Now, in this case, the wall is also the same like thickness as the track. The track was 1 stud, so we actually make it 6 studs, and then move it up by 1 to make it 5. But I like to have it be in the ground, so in this case it'll mark a 6. We'll change the brick color to white and make it concrete. And that gives us our walls. And also to prevent some of this like bleeding through, I will actually sometimes move the walls out by like another little bit. And that'll be good. You can do the same thing for catch fence, so you would duplicate this and then just bring it up, on top of it, and do the whole thing all over again. But that gives you an idea of just how to build out the racetrack. When it comes to the dirt layer part of this, what we'd end up doing with the surface. So first things first, like these parts are fine at 12 width. I do not recommend ever going over 15 width for a dirt part. After 15 width, you're going to start to lose some of like the quality of like the hits. People are going to like, it's going to draw weird lines essentially. But what I like to do is with the straightaways ahead of time, I like to try to get these set into a zone. So right now they're at 758. So the idea would be to try to find something that they're pretty divisible by. So 758, try maybe like 13, gets us 58.3. So 758 divided by maybe like 14, it's 54.4. So just trying to find like something that feels about close. So we're going to do 14. And then we can take this, and we can just do Control D and just start moving them over by 14 studs apiece. So just reselecting each time to get them all. And the idea is to fill in the entirety of this area. Looks like I'm going to be a little bit over. So and overlapping like that is totally fine. It's actually preferred. Because if we actually look at the corner pieces, you'll actually see the corner pieces overlap in that kind of way consistently. So now that we have that all set up, now we can finally dirt layer this. So we select these all again. And we're now going to move these and do the resize on them. And I like to resize them down to 2 studs. So we resize it down to the bottom of the racetrack first. so that way we can see our marking. If you have a track that is multi-grooved, where you're going to have like a top lane that's banked and a bottom lane that's not, or just less banked, the top lanes start against the wall, the bottom lanes start against the apron. In this case, we're going to go out to the wall, so we're going to start from the apron straight out to the wall. But if you have two separate grooves, it's better to start the one from the top and the one from the bottom and then meet them where they meet. Because then you can see where you can stop them so you don't go too far. So now this is our base, and so I will usually mark this as like apron, or something like that, like base. And then now we will use the clone tool in F3X right here to create another segment of this. And now we're going to move these by 2 studs because that is what their width are. So now we just have to go and find the yellow markings, move this over, and then at this point I'm going to make this called surface. Now the reason why we have separate surface and base is because now we're going to clone surface again. And we'll move surface over. Now we're going to type surface in this bar so we can get all the surface pieces at once. So now we have 2 layers. So now we can change this to 4. And this makes this go faster. And now we will do surface again. And now we can push out by 8. Now there becomes a point where you're going to be holding on to too many pieces and it could make your PC lag. So just try to know what the limits are of your PC. I think I'm fine with limiting myself to just this 8. And so yeah, this just becomes kind of the thing of just trying to figure it out. Now, I'm not going to actually do the whole thing, but essentially it would go all the way out like this. And the idea here is, so for example, this would be the last time I do surface. And it's because we're close enough to the wall. At this point, I would then go find base. And I would use base to move that out. And so when we go move base out, it's going to move out to here, and then move it out by another 2. And so I might have to do more than 1 chunk. I might have to do 2 or 3. But that way I don't go over and past the wall, and then I have to delete things that are past the wall. It gives me this ability to really hone in exactly where I want it to stop. And then I will actually name this surface as well. And the reason for naming that surface as well is because one day if I want to come back and I want to change the banking or something on this, the easiest way to go about doing that is to delete all the blocks called surface and then just restart with your base block. And so what I can do with that is I can come back to our base block. So like I said, we delete all of our surface, like so. And then we take our base block and we change this. So let's say I want to change the banking on this. I would use F3X to change the banking locally. So let's say I want to change it to like 3. So we come over here, and I can make it 3, and then now I can do that whole same process again now that that's 3, and get that different result. So that's just kind of the baseline getting the track made. In the next video, we'll go over exactly what we do after we finish the track. How do we get it ready for Dirt Free Play?